so to speak. This includes Kiharu Member of Parliament and Ndindi Nyoro. We have Laikipia's Mwangi Kiunjuri, who have been seen to take the lead in the anti-Gachagua messaging. And so Ruto's allies, the Deputy President's allies, and Honorable Gakuya included, have asked that the President declare his stand on the ongoing situation. What do you make of the fact that, and I asked this earlier, that the President has been quiet on this issue, despite the fact that he went through this in the previous administration, at least according to what he's told Kenyans?
I want to take you back to the Constitution of 2010. Initially, as we were growing up, the vice presidents could hear the being dropped during 1 o'clock news and by roadside. And you say now you are no longer the president or the vice president. I remember Mwai Kibaki was vice president for many years. One time he just woke up and found that he had been dropped and taken to be the Minister for Health. I remember the late Professor George Saitoti also was dropped. So the 2010 Constitution ring-fenced the office of the Deputy President and even the functions of the Deputy President. And they are now elected directly by the people, meaning the President has no power to remove the Deputy President because he's elected he has the mandate to lead the people. Now, I come to my friend here, Gakuya, and he has reminded us that the attack on the Deputy President is by his own people. And he has not minced his word. He has said one of those people is the Kiharu Member of Parliament, and that is Ndindi Nyoro. And again, if I am not far from the truth, he has said that Ndindi goes to functions with state machinery. We have seen him land in choppers, different choppers. And we have seen him with the bravado that only the president should be accorded. He is a young man. He is just the chairman of the budget committee within parliament. So it has to cause ripples among the DP supporters. And one of them is my friend here. He has also stated that they had a memorandum of shares. In fact, this thing of shares keeps on coming. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, I saw my friend Mungatana in Coast coming out publicly to say that they are also part of this government and nobody will come to them about 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. He came out explicitly and very categorical that we must look at the way that even if we pay tax, we must look at areas, not only population, to determine the kind of revenue and the taxes people pay in this country. So what we are saying is that what is in this system, what concerns about the DP Gachagua problem, it is their own problem at Mount Kenya. Their own people are ganging against the DP. But there are clear signs that they could be instigated. He has also said that this campaign is not about 2032, it is about 2027. So we are saying that some of these people from their region have been pushed to make sure that Gachagua does not settle in his job as the deputy president. And this is what is worrying some of his supporters. And I think when they went for this memorandum, Gachagua had his supporters. And that is why he talks about the shares, which to many people in this country is a critical matter that we must dispense of. We cannot allow people to segregate and confine themselves to only their regional thinkings and not the Kenyan thinking. We must, as leaders, think of other Kenyans. So when we only think about the region that you come from, fortunately both of us here, we are non-aligned. We are leading cosmopolitan city. Our votes come from all over, and we will not be talking about Mount Kenya or any other place. He is leading a very cosmopolitan region. I'm leading a very cosmopolitan region. So we must, our thinking must be aligned to the thinkings of the Kenyans at large. What do Kenyans want? Is it about the shares? Is it about people in this country that when I look at the composition of from the Treasury, the central bank, the CS of the Treasury, the chairman of the budget, the majority leader, they are from the same demographic or from the same region. And you might realize that their thinking are also aligned in the same manner. We need to, as a country, look at how we also have our people. I sometimes wonder that when my friend is saying that they are not taken care of, and you have heard me pinpoint, our economy is being run from the same people. So when we are talking about our economy, we are talking of Gachagua's people, or people from Gachagua's place. So we are saying that, what is these shares that they keep on talking about? Are Kenyans not part of this country? Why would we have shares dominated by only 2 people? So we must bring other Kenyans on the table to talk about the composition of this state.
And you bring in the issue of 2027 and the issue of shares, which even the president has disregarded publicly. Why do you think the president has been quiet on this push for the 1 man, 1 shilling resource allocation formula? 2027 in mind.
Of course, you know that as a president, he has a lot within his presence and within the premises of his thinking. He has a lot of both legal and NIA's information, the NIS information. He has his reports. I know he's a man who looks at his report. He goes to detail. So he must have been told that this clamor of 1 shilling, 1 vote will not give him vote from other parts of the country. It is just for a section of people. So I think he's just being careful that he's not seen to associate with certain sentiments which will not turn into votes come 2027. So as the head of state who has all the gadgets, he has all the information on his table, he has to make a choice on whether to support his DP with sentiments which are going to disintegrate and bring or scare away voters from other regions. And I think that is why he is quiet about this, because he knows very well this is not going to be good for him in his campaigns in 2027.
All right.
Yeah.
Gakuya, in the run-up to the elections, this push for 1 man, 1 shilling was literally suppressed. And not by anybody other than the deputy president himself in the Mount Kenya region, you know, and to the point of saying we can do this in parliament. But political analysts say he took that move because he knew the conversation would divide the Mount Kenya region, even in the run-up to the elections. Why is he reviving this push now? And you take a look at page 7 of the People Daily, you have that report. Gachagua vows to push for resource allocation formula even as he faces opposition from his backyard. Why now?
Let me just repeat my words. That 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote is not in a crime. And let me tell you, the beneficiaries can never be a 1 single community. I said and I repeated that actually, the way that actually resources are being shared, it requires to be looked into. I do suffer where I do represent. My good friends do suffer the same way. And we have regions which has a lot of resources, and these resources are even beyond the usage. You realize that actually here in Nairobi, it will be very difficult to assist a needy child a year with more than 5,000. But there are regions where the same student enjoys free education from day 1 to the compression of his studies. This is totally imbalance because all students belong to this country and they are Kenyans. So if we are not going to watch on that particular aspect and we just politicize it, then we are not going to take it right. So in this case, I am saying, yes, look for resource environment on another angle where Nairobi is the producer of the highest chunk of resources, and the resources are being shared out of the city and always leave Nairobi almost with nothing. This should not be the case, because how do you contribute over 60% and then you earn back minimal that in fact even cannot service your people. We should also consider those urban areas are critical areas. In terms of revenue disbursement, it should be a different angle of making sure that those people do not suffer in their regions. So in this one, it is nowhere a crime, and we are only saying, look at it again and find a better mechanism how all students in this country can enjoy learning without hitches. Because how do you expect a constituency like Juja, like Iloilo, like my constituency, you can only give bursary one term, a whole year of 5,000. Other constituencies are giving 20,000 per student per every term. How balancing can this be at all?
Are you thinking of equity in the allocation of resources?
The element of one city cannot be achieved.
Of the people daily.
But if we can have equity, way of dispersing resources, can be able to reach to every needy corner of this country.
How, Gakuya, will this formula benefit regions that have traditionally been deemed to be marginalized? Yesterday, we had northeastern leaders come out and say this will further marginalize the region. Tana River Senator, like you mentioned, Danson Mungatana has come out and said
those hardship areas are well taken care of in terms of resource sharing, because in terms of revenue division, they got their shares. And number two, there is also an accommodation of what we call equalization fund, which also takes care of these regions. So this is a basket which takes their area in a good shape. That's also not a concern that you have geographical sizes where nobody lives there. And you also want to tell us, you go 1 kilometer. You want to tell us, in fact, even where animal sleeps, we must consider it as an area of concern.
But the people who live there deserve just as much development.
We forget an element where who contributed to this basket is population.
The people, Mheshimiwa, who live in these marginalized areas deserve just as much development as people in your constituency, for example. People who have to travel 20 kilometers to access
the reason why this country adopted issue to do with the devolution, where all sectors of this country are well taken care of under 47 counties, is because of that resource envelope, so that these resources can trickle down to every corner. And I have no problem with that. But only my problem is that formula should be looked.
So why do you feel that there are leaders who are opposed to this formula, if it will benefit their constituencies?
I have no problem, because every single agenda or a proposal will have maybe a support or be defeated. And that's why we always have a motion. A motion can arise to be defeated or arise to be approved. In this case, I'm saying, yes, let us consider and look about the formula of resource sharing. And that's fine to me.
That takes me back to my question. Why now? Why is Gachagua reviving this push now? There are those who say he's doing it to save his neck, considering the political division in the Mount Kenya region.
One, I don't want to ask to respond on his behalf, because Gachagua is a national leader of this country, and he has his right to decide what to advise what he thinks is right. And his assumption, I would not say it is long timed. It is long timed. It is light timed, because the burdens that he knows are within some areas are also key to be considered. Like I am talking about the Nairobi city we are in, and the manner in language we normally keep it. The situation in the city where people live here, over 70% are jobless, and they have nowhere to fall back. These people are people of concern, which in the revenue sharing should be given as a stake.
All right.
And let me tell you, how can we allow a generation of 60% of revenue coming from the same capital city, leaving the city anguishing, and all the money gets out?
All right. So, of course, a conversation on revenue must be given. But even as you respond, Gakuya mentions that the DP is a national leader. Now, that those, including the Tana River Senator, who said, I want to tell the DP that unless he does not think Lamu, Tana River, Garissa are counties that are important, if he intends to be president, then he is heading in the wrong direction. Is this push painting him as a national leader or a regional leader at this time?
First, I want to be at variance with my friend here when he says he cannot speak on behalf of the DP. But you know, here we are talking about the state of the nation. As much as you know, he needs to give his comments on the position of the DP. And I also know he can speak on behalf of the DP himself. You have seen that he's very passionate about what affects the DP himself. He's the strongman of the DP in our region here in Nairobi. But I want to say that this 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote resonates very well with the masses in Mount Kenya region. And that is why the DP, because of losing trust, in quotes, within the system that may be, he has now gone back to his people to seek for a proper mandate. And this proper mandate can only come by invoking a certain aspects of life that will resonate with their people. And one of them is this 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. People do not realize that those who crafted this had also in their mind the boundary review. And it was coming with about 70 new constituencies within the Mount Kenya region. And when it comes with about those constituencies, it means that the resource allocation also within those constituencies will still trickle to this region. So looking at all the aspects that encompasses the formula used in 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, when collectively you look at all that comes with it, it becomes very, very expensive. Like when you think of more than 70 constituencies still coming, and even at the moment, the 390, the constituencies we have, people feel that we have a very bloated number of constituencies within this country. And sharing of the revenue should not be looked in terms of the population only. We also have, in terms of area coverage, we have regions that maybe produce mineral salts, and they contribute to the revenue of this country. Yet, the number of people, the population there could be a minimum, but they are serious contributors to the economy of this country. So when we are looking at revenue collection, we cannot and should not just think about the number of people or in terms of population. I am on record as saying many times that the census in this country, since I was a grown-up, the census in this country have never been accurate. It has always been skewed to serve certain political interests with this country. Anybody is allowed to correct that, but with the figures. So we believe that even the population that is normally subjected and projected to us as a country has a lot of loopholes. And we must not use this as only parameter in terms of revenue division to our people. So when other leaders from other regions are talking about the ASAL areas, when ASAL areas, Northeastern, the Lamu, and all other those areas, they are concerned about this sharing of revenue. And that is why they come out that as a national leader, as he says he is, the DP Gachagua, as a national leader, he needs to consult with other leaders from other areas before such public pronouncements, which inflicts in the minds of people remembrance of suppression of prior government systems in our country. So we must come to terms and realities that the current political setup, the current people now, cannot go back to those days where ASAL areas and those areas which have expansive land were marginalized. We must take resources to those places so that we stabilize and all the regions can be on the same table. I think that is where now you can talk about a national leader. So a national leader must think of other people in other regions and do not come just to talk to a group, a given group, so that his political base can be incited that their son is being mistreated, and he comes to pronounce with such enunciations that provoke or that resonates with the thinking of those people in the region.
All right.
Yeah.
And Gakuya, still on the issue of whether the DP is presenting himself as a national leader. And of course, we cannot distance ourselves from the fact that he is a regional leader in the Mount Kenya region as well. And that's just one of the many hats that he wears. However, on Sunday, in a church service in Nyeri, Gachagua mobilized more than 20 MPs in a church service, which was obviously a show of political might in the region. Just yesterday, he attended the burial of Julius Ndumbi, the former principal of Kirinyaga High School, and he also tagged along several MPs who pledged loyalty to him. But, you know, there are those who say he is, you know, his actions may not be endearing him to Kenyans, but more to the mountain. Let's go to that politics. Mutahi Kahiga, the Nyeri governor, says that all the votes of the Mount Kenya region gave to Kenya Kwanza was a result of Gashagua's efforts and sacrifices. However, there are those that feel that the 47% of votes that Kenya Kwanza got from Mount Kenya were actually anti-Raila votes, you know, gauging from the history of Kenyan politics. That being said, what is the plan now, you feel, for the deputy president in the wake of these divisions? Is it to chart his own path forward or to mend the divide within the executive?
No, one thing that to me is said very clearly that, in fact, the sentiment made by deputy president on matter to do with one sharing one vote is not a matter to do with a particular community. And I said it very clear. Go to the population of Western region. It is a big population. Go to the population of Nyanza. It is a big population. Go to the population of Eastern. It's a big population. So let us not misunderstood that actually Gachagua is talking about a particular sector or a particular area of this country. So when he talks about one man, one sharing, this does not...
He was talking about a particular area.
This period does not constitute that the beneficiaries are only Mount Kenya region. That one, let me put it very clear. Number two, in terms of whatever every other region contributed, that was a sacrifice and commitment from that particular region. And that's why the commitment made by Mount Kenya region was very special. That actually they decided to forget one of their own and the direction one of their own was taking them, and they took a different, diverse direction. This was so independent-minded of them to make sure that they take their decision to a corner that they thought is the best for them. At this point in time, we should not stand to see Gachagua as tribal or a factor of a particular region, because he did his part. In Western region, they have their mites, Mudavadi and Tangulas, they are there. And we have seen people like Natembea fighting for their community. So let us not be misconstrued that, in fact, it's only Mount Kenya region which is bargaining for their package. And let me tell you, anywhere that actually, even in the Azimio factor, there was a memorandum of understanding where many various parties signed. You cannot tell me those parties who are not signing that memorandum if they could have managed to capture the government. There has to be a way of distributing the sharing of power.
All right. All right. I want us to wind up, gentlemen. Honorable Error, I want us to wind up with page 10 of the People Daily. And it's a cartoon there that shows that the finance bill is literally cutting Kenyans on their neck. I mean, the Kenyans are choking under the finance bill. And so with all these politics now taking place, barely 3 years into the term of this government, what are the chances that the development promises that were made and that Kenyans expect will be realized?
I think even before I talk about the finance bill, sometimes I just wonder where a government is not concerned about health, is not concerned about agriculture, and is not concerned about education. If you look at the people leading those major ministries, they have no interest in those ministries. The last time we impeached the CS of agriculture because of fake fertilizers, he was brought back. Last time the doctors were on strike because of the CS, and even the impeachment motion was almost coming, they went back. I am in the education committee. When we are doing the BPS, budget policy statement, normally it is done on the 15th day February of every year to see where the government can spend money and to tell us, project where we'll get revenue, how we'll appropriate, how the debts will be. But now when we are doing the budget estimates, you realize that some of our universities, our main university like Nairobi University, has not been allocated a single cent to run that university. Kibabi, when you go to Jaramogi, they have allocated 13 million shilling for a whole year. And many other universities, I tried to calculate the variance, I had this, it almost burst because it was almost a trillion cut. So, it means that when we did the BPS and now the budget estimates, the Treasury never respected what the committees had recommended. And you know, there's a budget process. When you look at Article 232 of our standing orders about the BPS, we have structures of how to make budgets. And by the time we are doing the BPS, it means the government already knows the kind of revenue they can collect and the projection and also the debt ceilings. And when now we come to estimates, it means that our education system is rotten. We are not going to have an education system in this country. And more so, we were looking at the budgets of employing teachers and all that. We have a deficit of about 96,000 teachers, and we have interns who are on strike. We cannot sort out the educational problem in this country. So even when we are going to talk about finance bill to try and raise this revenue, surely, can't we have, as a government that is concerned about the education system in this country, what about this revenue we want? In the BPS, we had the baseline of these monies that was there. When now it comes to estimate, they are removed arbitrarily, without logic, without formulas, and without anything. So I'm just saying that this finance bill, even if we are going to look at it, it is not sorting out our problem.
All right.
And I have just read somewhere here in my phone as we were here,
Briefly,
that my friend here, this side of Gachagua, for the first time, they want to oppose this finance bill and join us. Welcome. So that we show Kenyans that this finance bill is not appreciated by Kenyans.
We must wind up, gentlemen, but that was going to be my next question. Whether this divide in the Mount Kenya region may just work for the benefit of Kenyans, considering the majority of Kenya Kwanza
I really appreciate them for this, because I've just seen, I think it is on the standard, it is here, African section MPs Ali to Regadia will oppose the finance bill.
It is something we'll continue probing.
And I want my friend to go out of his way to ensure that this bill does not pass through Parliament.
All right, gentlemen, we must wind up.
I just wanted to say that when you have the KRA now getting into the banks and looking at our assets, and